Would you trust these doctors with your life, considering their college admission standards are lower?
Whew. I don't know where to even start with the amount of ignorance that was in that last video that I stitched, but let's start with some facts. This week is Black Maternal Health Week, and studies show that in the United States, Black women are 3 times as likely to die during childbirth when compared to white women, and infant mortality is higher for Black children than any other race. Studies also show that when Black mothers are taken care of by Black doctors, infant mortality rates cut in half. Black doctors are needed. And everyone that is a doctor is qualified. You have to go through 4 years of college, 4 years of medical school, and in medical school, you take step 1 and step 2, board exams that are standardized for everyone that's a medical student. Then you go into residency, which can last sometimes up to 7 years, depending on the specialty you go into. And that's not even to mention that even when you're a doctor, you still take exams to prove that you know your knowledge. It's a grueling process, and anyone that's a doctor has worked their butt off so that they can take care of patients, even patients like that person who are racist. What's incredible is we will care for you. We will give you the best care, and we'll do it with a smile, because we went into this field to help everyone. So if you're an underrepresented student thinking about going into medicine, do not let bigots like that lower your worth, because we need you now more than ever.
Hey everyone, welcome back. So there's been a lot of conversation about Black doctors, whether they are as qualified, whether people trust them, and even patients straight up refusing their care. And the fact that we are still debating this in 2025 is wild. But let's take a look at some of the videos and then I'll be back and we can break it all down.
Would you trust these doctors with your life?
Indubitably, especially since when Black patients are treated by Black doctors, those patients experience better health and lower mortality. But also because if it wasn't for Black doctors, everybody be dead. Dr. Daniel Hale Williams performed the first successful open heart surgery in 1893. Dr. Solomon Carter Fuller translated Alzheimer's work from German to English in the early 1900s. Dr. Charles Drew discovered that it was easier to bank blood plasma than store whole blood. Dr. Jane Cook Wright discovered that you can monitor the effects of drugs on cancer cells using patient tissue instead of laboratory mice. So would I trust my life with that room full of super melanated, highly educated, often imitated, never duplicated, extra elevated room full of geniuses? The answer, an unequivocal yes.
I really don't want to be canceled for this, but I do have to tell you that the best doctors I've ever had are women of color. And I can't be more specific than that, and I don't want to stereotype, but I do feel like I have enough experience now to where I can say the best doctors I've ever had in all areas, gynecologists, primary care, specifically gynecologists, but like all of them have been women of color, the best ones. And I'm not saying that the other doctors are bad at all, because I think that becoming a doctor is very difficult. I have so much respect for all doctors in general, but there is just something about a woman of color doctor that I really just have the best experience. If I have a bad experience at the doctor, it's never a woman of color. I'm gonna tell you that.
Actually, I didn't know how to take this, but I feel like as Black women, we're always on the defensive. When someone's actually giving you a compliment, we need to recognize it and take it. But on the flip side, it does suck that you have to be worried about being canceled for giving Black women a compliment. It should be okay to feel this way. But having to defend yourself on something that is your opinion is kind of sad, unfortunately. But seeing so many people comment on her posts of shared experiences who agree with her is really heartwarming, and it validates that this is a true narrative. Working in a white and male-dominated field is not easy. Yes, we are the minority, but we actually are the most sought out. My overall experience as a Black female doctor has generally been great, but sometimes that gets lost in the everyday challenges that we face and negative experiences that we have. So taking a step back and recognizing the good, the quality that we bring to the table and to our patients is actually really comforting. We are a rare breed, but we have the biggest impact. Women of color are unique. We are special. So thank you for recognizing that.
Now, this part is very important. There's this myth floating around that Black doctors somehow have it easier when it comes to getting into medical school. But let's be real, no one is skipping steps. Every doctor, regardless of race, has to go through the same rigorous process to earn that title. And if you're in a hospital, you can be sure that doctor worked just as hard as anyone else to be there. So here's where things get deeper, because it's not just about qualifications, it's also about why Black doctors are so important. Let's check this clip out.
Do you know why it's important to have a Black doctor if you're Black? There was a patient I saw today. I got a consult. It's like, hey, you think this is frostbite? I was like, oh man, thinking that it's going to be dry gangrene. And if you don't know what that is, that means like your toes are basically going to fall off, and you need to put betadine and everything to make sure it stays dry until you can amputate it. I said, do they have, what's going on? Like, they're like, oh, it looks necrotic. It looks like blackened. I went to the patient, and the patient had hyperpigmentation. They told me it was necrotic. That patient had cap refill. Their toes were alive. They're just black. Yeah.
This right here is exactly why representation in medicine matters. Black patients are misdiagnosed at high rates. Their pain isn't taken seriously, and their symptoms are often overlooked. And that's why having black doctors in the field literally saves lives. But again, it's not just about the patients. Black doctors themselves face racism within the system. They face issues like patients refusing their care, hospitals sidelining them for promotions, and even colleagues questioning their abilities. There's a double standard that makes them have to prove themselves over and over again. For instance, let's take a look at this.
Oh, my kid, I would like to see a white doctor. You're telling me there's not one white doctor in this whole entire building? Yes, no. Stupid. Oh my God. Well, what's the closest that you have to?
I remember when I was a kid, I came home from school and I told my dad that some kid called me the N-word. My dad heard my whole story and he listened to everything I had to say, and at the end he said, well, is that what you are? And I looked at him surprised and I said, of course not. Never let somebody else's bias, ignorance, or their own personal issue become your problem. And the way I think about it is it's like this. I'm specialized, I've worked really hard for a long time, and there are lots of people who are waiting in line to see me. Doctors and nurses have rights too, and we don't need to put up with bigoted behavior. The truth is the world is different now, and doctors come in all shapes and colors. And for those people who are bigoted out there, you never know, it might just be someone who looks just like me who saves your life.
Well, this happens more often than people think, and let's be real, if a black patient walked in and said, I only want a black doctor, people would have a lot to say about it. But when it's the other way around, some folks act like it's just a personal preference. Anyway, what I think is trust in a doctor should be based on their skills and not on their skin color. And also, black doctors are just as capable. And as for black patients, they can be the difference between proper treatment and being ignored. So let's stop questioning whether they deserve to be there. They've earned it. So let's have this conversation and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, please consider subscribing and like and share for more trending discussions. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.